All right, so we're going to talk about something pretty incredible today, using super advanced AI to get help to people in the middle of the world's worst crises. Now, as you can probably guess, this is a real double-edged sword. On one hand, the potential is just immense, but on the other, the risks are just as profound. When a disaster hits, an earthquake, a flood, you name it, the clock is immediately ticking. Every single second counts. And the speed of that first response, that can literally be the difference between life and death. The problem is, historically, just getting the right help to the right people right when they need it, well, that's always been a huge, huge challenge. So let's just get right to the heart of it. What is the core challenge for humanitarian aid? Well, it's this massive puzzle, getting the right supplies to the right people at exactly the right time, and doing it all in a place that's just been thrown into total chaos. I mean, just try to picture the logistical nightmare, right? You've got roads that are destroyed, airports that are shut down. You're trying to figure out who needs food, who needs water, who needs medicine, and the situation is changing by the minute. Sometimes crucial resources get lost, or worse, they end up in the wrong place entirely. And look, these aren't new problems. This is the stuff that has been giving aid organizations headaches for decades. Okay, and this is where AI steps onto the stage. The big idea, the huge promise, is that AI can look at all that chaos and actually make sense of it. It can spot patterns that a human brain just couldn't process, and in doing so, make the entire aid effort faster, smarter, and hopefully a whole lot safer. So you might be wondering, how does it actually do that? Well, picture these powerful AI algorithms just churning through mountains of data. I'm talking about satellite images showing which buildings are gone, social media feeds where people are literally crying out for help, even climate data that can predict where a famine might hit next. The AI takes all of this in, and then it does two things. It predicts where the needs will be the most severe, and it figures out the absolute fastest way to get supplies there. It's an incredible vision for cutting out the waste and ultimately saving more lives. And believe it or not, this idea didn't just pop up yesterday. It's actually been building for a long, long time. You can trace it all the way back to the 60s with really basic crisis mapping. Then in the 90s, we got the first taste of machine learning, doing some early predictions. But a real turning point was the 2010 Haiti earthquake. That's when we saw AI being used to scan Twitter to figure out where help was needed most urgently. And what we're seeing today with these super complex deep learning models, well, that's the next giant leap in this story. So yeah, it sounds amazing, right? A perfect technological solution for a messy, deeply human problem. But you knew there was a but coming, didn't you? What's the catch? Because let's be real, when we're talking about life or death decisions, the consequences of getting it wrong are, well, they're terrifying. And this is where we get to the other, sharper edge of that sword, the dark side of algorithms. This is where code that was written with the best intentions in the world can end up causing real and sometimes truly devastating harm. And that brings us to the absolute heart of the problem, a thing called algorithmic bias. Here's the simple truth. An AI is only as good or as fair as the data you feed it. And if that data is full of our own human biases, and let's be honest, it usually is, then the AI doesn't just learn those biases, it can actually amplify them, making decisions that end up hurting the very people who need help the most. But bias is just the tip of the iceberg. You've also got this creepy-sounding thing called surveillance humanitarianism. Basically, to be efficient, these systems collect huge amounts of personal, sensitive data, which is a huge privacy risk. Then there's the garbage in, garbage out problem. In the middle of a crisis, data is messy and incomplete. Feed that to an AI, and you could get some really bad decisions. And maybe the biggest question of all, when it makes a mistake, who's responsible? A lot of these algorithms are black boxes. We can't even see how they make their decisions, which makes it almost impossible to hold anyone accountable. Okay, so let's move this from theory to the real world. We've got two case studies that really show this tug of war between the amazing promise and the serious peril. So check this out. On one hand, you have Gaza. An AI was used to sort through aid requests, and it was a game changer, super fast, super efficient. The promise was totally realized. But the peril? The whole system would crash whenever the power went out. Then you have Project Jetson in Somalia, which was trying to predict where people would be forced to flee. An incredible goal, right? The problem was, the data it learned from was spotty and incomplete, so its predictions were biased. The lessons here are just crystal clear. 1, the tech is only as good as the infrastructure on the ground. And 2, an AI is basically a mirror. It just reflects back whatever data you show it, flaws and all. You know, this quote from someone working on the ground in Gaza really just says it all. No matter how smart or sophisticated the tech is, it doesn't matter if the lights go out or the internet is down. In those moments, the very system that was designed to help people can actually become one more obstacle standing in their way. So, where do we go from here? The stakes are obviously incredibly high. How do we get all the good stuff from AI without falling into these dangerous traps? Well, it all comes down to one idea: responsible innovation. And the number one rule, the guiding light for everything, has to be the same principle that guides all humanitarian work: do no harm. And that's not just a nice sounding platitude, it's a non negotiable command. Every single AI tool used in this field has to be measured against that standard. So, what does that look like in practice? Well, it means having a solid ethical framework. First, you have to do serious risk analysis before you ever deploy this stuff in the field. Second, privacy can't be an afterthought. It has to be baked in from day one. Third, you've got to have real accountability. People need a way to question and challenge a decision an AI makes about them. And finally, and this one is so important, you must always keep a human in the loop. AI should be a co-pilot, not the pilot. It's there to help human judgment, never to replace it. So when you put it all together, the promise, the peril, the path forward, the bottom line is really clear. AI is an unbelievably powerful tool, but it's just that, a tool. It's not a magic wand. It can't just wave away the chaos and complexity of a crisis. It can only help us find our way through it, but only if we're smart and careful about how we use it. And I guess that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. With all its incredible ability to crunch numbers and analyze data, can a piece of code ever really, truly understand what a human being needs in their darkest hour? That's a question worth thinking about.